Welcome to ProjectME, the podcast. I'm your host, Tiffany Carter, the founder of ProjectME, multimillionaire entrepreneur, former TV newscaster, money-making expert, female empowerment speaker, and self-proclaimed office supply addict. My mission is to take the mystery out of making big money. Every week on ProjectME, the podcast, I'll share success tips, strategies, and stories from other entrepreneurs, experts, and millionaires, showing you exactly how you can achieve your most exceptional life. Now let's get to it. Exciting announcement for all of my listeners. I've officially opened my exclusive group, the ProjectME Passive Income Posse, to the public. This group is by application only, so we can keep the group high vibe and spend our time, energy, and expertise only helping those of you who truly want massive success and impact. You get live weekly trainings from me, special guest coaches, and direct access to me and my business partner for all of your questions. To learn more and apply, go to projectmewithtiffany.com, click on Work With Me, and select ProjectME Posse. And of course, any questions, feel free to DM me at ProjectME with Tiffany. Welcome to the podcast and posse, ProjectME with Tiffany Carter. I'm your host, Tiffany, and today we are going to get real AF, you guys. I brought on a guest who is probably even more so blunt, raw, real than me, but it's all out of a place of love. I'm sick of you guys talking about all these different excuses of why you can't show up in the way you want to show up. You don't have the credentials. You don't think anyone will listen to you. You're boring. You only have 100 followers. I'm tired of it, so I brought on the queen of confidence. Rachel Luna is the founder of Girl Confident, teaching sales, confidence, and mindset strategy to women worldwide through her best-selling books, podcast, and now her live event, Confidence Activated. What's up, girl?
What's up? I love that you just went in on the posse and was like, I'm sick and tired of all your BS. So we're going to fix it today. I'm available. Let's do it.
Let's do it. So I got to tell you guys a little backstory with Rachel on when I first was like, okay, this is my girl. So we all have at a certain point, you're going to get haters. And I always say when you get haters, you've made it. It makes me laugh. I could care less. But when I talk a lot about God, and on my show, I do swear a lot. I love saying fuck. It's my jam. I swear. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But because I swear and talk about God, that pisses a lot of people off. And so my most common DM is, you're not being godly. If you're, using profanity, blah, blah, blah. And my response is, well, God doesn't seem to have a problem with it. So I reached out to Rachel. It was probably a year ago. And I go, what do you do about the God thing? I notice you don't preface it by saying the universe or whatever you believe in. You just go straight for it. So were you always like that?
No, never. Actually, that's not true. Yes, then no, then yes again, right? So yes, at first, I was just the way that I am. I talked about God willy-nilly, God. I never knew the universe. I knew God. And years ago, well-intentioned Jewish friend of mine said, stop talking about God so much. You're going to alienate people and you're going to lose business. Now, at the time, she was further ahead in her business. So I thought that must be it. That must be the secret. My business isn't growing because I am talking about God and people are feeling alienated. So I stopped talking about God and I really compromised on my own beliefs and value system. And I started incorporating God, universe, angels, whatever you call it, whoever you resonate with. I love you all. You're all welcome, blah, 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 blah. Well, what ended up happening is that I welcomed a witch into my practice, a real, and listen, if you're a real witch out there practicing listening, do you, boo. I'm not judging you. I'm telling you my story. This chick was like, yeah, I do. I don't know. Are they called pentagrams?
I
Whatever.
don't know.
It was like some circle thing on the floor, and like it had triangles and numbers. And she was like, I can do one for you if you want. And I was like, thank you. So sweet. But nope, don't do none of that, because I'm one of those Christians that believe in spiritual warfare. And I believe that if she had said to me, would you like me to do that? And I had given her a positive answer, then that would have been like an invitation for whatever we call it in Puerto Rico, brujeria, like whatever kind of witchcraft. So I wasn't about that. But I remember she was a really lovely person. But every time we would get on a coaching call, I would feel wrong. I would feel like I was going to offend her. I would feel out of alignment. I felt like I could not really support her because I couldn't be myself. And this didn't feel right to me, because I know that we are all given individual gifts. And when we have to dim our light to make other people feel comfortable or to make them think that they're going to shine brighter, everybody loses out. And so after working with that client, I decided, screw this. I'm talking about God. I remember when I was redesigning my webpage, I was working with a woman named Nadine Bone. What's up, Nadine? And I said to her, Nadine, I don't care what you do to this website, but that About Me page better be filled with God. That anybody that comes to my page should not doubt whether or not I'm a Christian. If they have a doubt, then I did not articulate effectively. And guess what happened? As soon as I started being true to myself, owning that I was a Christian, owning that I'm a Jesus freak and I love God, and yes, I'm a Christian who cusses occasionally, my business exploded in a good way. And not only that, but I started working with the right people. And I'm not saying that Christians are the right people. I'm saying that people who would accept me no matter what I believed in, and who would let me serve them the way that I wanted to serve them, were the right people. So I have now people at my event, Confidence Activated, last year. It's not a Christian faith-based event at all. I'm just a Christian faith-filled woman. So that pours out. At the end of the event, a woman came up to me and she said, Rachel, will you pray for me? And I looked at her and I said, well, who do you believe in? Because I don't think we serve the same God. And she said, no, I'm Hindu, but I want you to, I'll take a blessing from your God.
That's cool.
And to me, every time I think of that moment, I get chills, not because I was trying to convert her, because I wasn't, but because what I was able to create was an environment where everyone felt God's love in such an overwhelming manner that they wanted to experience it, and that we were all able, with our different religions, with our different cultures, to come together in prayer and love and support for each other.
Yeah, I love that. You guys know I always say like attracts like. And if we are not clear around who we are and owning that and who we want to attract, like will not attract like. Like will attract a witch. And not saying that's a bad person, like you said, but I had a similar situation where, I'm not new to entrepreneurship, but having a personal brand is still relatively new for me. And with that being said, it's very different than having a full-blown multiple seven-figure company, right? And I had to get to a point where I owned all of me, even the parts that I'm a little bit embarrassed about. And that's when my business exploded as well. So how do the people listening, what can help them get to that point?
Yes. Well, first of all, you have to give yourself permission to offend. And this is it's the title of my upcoming book. It's something that I'm really passionate about helping you understand, is that if you are so overtly concerned with whether or not you're going to offend people, that is going to hinder your progress and it's going to hamper your impact. So don't worry if you offend your mother's brother's cousin's uncle's niece. So what? I get a lot of people. I at present don't have any hair. Well, I have like what, a quarter of a millimeter.
Yeah.
But I used to have really bright, fiery, hot pink hair. And people would say to me, oh, I wish I could dye my hair like that. But, you know, my mom would be offended, or my husband doesn't like it, or so-and-so. And I would always say to them, why are you living for other people? How does living for their approval help you make an impact? Because the reality is that people are judging you regardless. You're never going to get it right with everyone. So you might as well let them judge you for who you really are instead of who you've been pretending to be. So step one, give yourself permission to offend. Step two is to identify your core belief system. And the way that you do this is by examining the stories versus the facts of your life. For example, when I was 3 years old, my biological mother died of AIDS. 6 months later, my father gave me up to my godmother to raise me. When he did that, I told myself a story of my dad abandoned me. I told myself that I'm not good enough. I told myself that everyone I loved leaves me because my mom I loved and she died. My dad I loved and he left. And so I was telling myself all these stories. When my father got remarried, I remember telling myself a story like, I'm not good enough because he didn't raise me, but he raised her daughter. And he would always tell me he didn't have money to pick me up or whatever, but he had money to raise her. And I remember thinking like, I am not good enough, because if I were good enough, my father would never have gotten rid of me. What did I do wrong? What was wrong with me? The truth, when I really peel back all the layers, when I interview all the people that I've interviewed in my family, both on my father and my mother's side, the truth is that my father was a very irresponsible man. The truth is that that little girl's dad was present in her life, and her dad paid child support. So my dad wasn't supporting her. Her own father was supporting her, and her father's grandparents or parents. The other fact was that at one point, my godmother, who I call my mom, at one point my mom wanted to adopt me, and my dad and my mom were supposed to meet downtown at the lawyer's office, and she went and he never showed up. And there were no cell phones back in that day. So she waited for hours and then went home. And when she called him to say like, hey, are you okay? Are you alive? He said to her, I'm sorry, I just couldn't give her up. And so my father believed that as long as he retained his parental rights, he had never abandoned me. I believed that because he gave me away, he had abandoned me years ago. So I had to reconcile the fact from the story. The fact is that my father did the best he could. The fact is that he also had AIDS. The fact is that my father had never taken care of himself. He wasn't like, there were so many more facts to this story. So then I had to rewrite the narrative. I am good enough. In fact, I'm so good. I'm so worthy that he wanted me to have a better life. He could have kept me on food stamps and welfare, but no, he made a sacrifice. So stories are you telling yourself, and how are they shaping your core belief about who you are? Because if your core belief is distorted like mine was, it's going to be very difficult for you to show up as your authentic self, because you're going to be terrified of rejection. You're going to be terrified of imperfection. You're going to be terrified of looking dumb or silly or bad. So go into your own story. And maybe you did not have a traumatic experience like me, but I had one client where she felt guilty for having a great life. And she said, but my childhood was really good. Nothing bad ever happened to me, so I don't have a story. Yeah, you do have a story. You have a story that you're not interesting. You have a story that you are too normal for anyone to pick. There's nothing special about you because you didn't have trauma. So think about your story, get to the core of it, and then work on shifting and reframing it. To this day, there are still moments where I have to go in my journal and literally with tears streaming down my face, I have to remind myself, I am good. I am worthy. I am valuable. People want me because I have to remind myself that I am more than enough just as I am, and that I am of high value to other people. Why? Because it took me 30 plus years to that story in my head that I wasn't good enough. And it's going to take years to recondition. What happens, Tiffany, is that people think that there's like a magic pill and you do one affirmation and one mindset workshop and poof, you good. And you never feel that doubt. Don't believe that hype. Recognize that every time you get to a new level, there's going to be a new opportunity for growth or opposition or oppression.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like peeling the layers of an onion.
Yeah.
I happen to have a story that's incredibly traumatic from having, being sexually abused from 11 to 21 years old. Do you guys think I'm able to talk about it like that just because I read one book or went to a therapist for a couple years? This has been a lifetime of work and daily work.
Yes.
In order to be able to share my story to help others heal and help guide other people. This is all the time, sometimes all throughout the day, some days.
And it's interesting because people will also say to me, but how can you tell the story? Aren't you afraid that you're telling other people's business, right? So like when you're talking about you were molested, you're not telling the molester's side of the story. You're telling your experience. So I really want to stress to you, my friend from the posse, the listener, that you get to tell your side of the story from your perspective, and it does not matter how someone is going to interpret it because that's not your responsibility. It's your responsibility to tell the part of the story that is going to help make an impact with your audience and help them grow. And it's everyone else's responsibility to figure themselves out. You can't take that on yourself.
Now, were you always so confident on video? Because it's one thing, it's one layer, so to speak, if we do the, onion analogy. It's one layer to have confidence in the written word, you writing a book, you writing your social media posts. But to do it in video is another layer. Were you always this confident on video?
I have always been confident in front of an audience. And I don't know why. I do better in front of an audience than I do one-on-one with people. I think I have an intimacy issue. That's a layer I haven't really dug into, but I'm working on it. It's interesting because when the camera is on, I'm just excited that someone's letting me talk to the camera. I've always been like, yeah, let me in front of the camera. I don't love watching myself on video. So I don't. I have started to do now because as I'm doing these live events, I always want to get better. And the only way you get better is by watching and tweaking. But for a long time, I would record videos and I wouldn't watch them back. I would just create it and put it out there because I knew that if I watched it back, I would be overly judgmental. I would be overly critical with myself, and that would never serve. So I'm not sure that I answered the question, but I always just did it.
No, you did, because something I share to my people is that we all are given God-given gifts and natural talents, all of us. And I will refer to it as like the phrase of everyone has a leg up, right? So one of your gifts is being able to feel comfortable talking to, an audience. It's not something you had to like work tirelessly at and it scared the absolute heck out of you, right? So everyone has everyone has their gifts. Some people are just incredible writers. Some people are amazing at math. You guys all have your own gifts. And then there's other things we're given that, we need to work on. That's just how it rolls.
Yeah, I think I just always felt good in front of a camera. I don't know that I always love the reflection back. I have like old YouTube videos from like 9-10 years ago when I used to do something called 3-Minute Thursdays, and they are awful. Like, but go look them up. I keep them up. I don't take them down because I want people to know that we all start from somewhere, and it doesn't look great, but that's okay because it served us in that moment.
So you've pretty recently have had a major life development this year. And with that development, I'm imagining required a whole new layer of how you show up and when you show up. So if you guys are not familiar with Rachel Luna at Girl Confident, you're now cancer-free.
Yes.
But tell us the things. Tell us what happened.
Well, what had happened was I had just hosted this event, Confidence Activated, and it was amazing. It exceeded every single expectation I had. Tiffany, I was on the highest high of my, entrepreneurial career. And I came home 2 days later and I had this pain in my back. Long story short, the pain in my back led me to find a lump in my breast. And doctors were blowing me off. One didn't want me to, they blew me off. I was my own best advocate. So in the interest of time, I'm going to tell you right now, the lesson is, if you suspect something is wrong, I don't care what the doctor says. Be your own advocate, because the first doctor I went to told me, let's wait and see, because you're young and you don't have a history of breast cancer. It's probably nothing. If I turned out to have a diagnosis of triple negative breast cancer, it is the most aggressive form of breast cancer. It only affects 15 to 20% of all breast cancer cases. And the tumor that I had was increasing at 97, it was multiplying at 97% per day.
Oh my
if
God.
I had listened to that doctor and waited 3 months, that tumor more than likely would have metastasized, and I probably would have walked in with a diagnosis of stage 3, stage 4 versus early stage 1. When I first got diagnosed, it was stage 1. 3 weeks later, by the time we got into the operating table, it was early stage 2.
Wow. That is fast.
And God spoke to me on July 4th at 3:25 p.m. And God said to me, you will be cancer-free within 30 days. And these are the things I want you to do as a demonstration of faith. And he gave me like 5 or 6 different things. I talk about that on a podcast that I created just to talk about that story. It's called The Scandalous Christian. It's available where all podcasts are. You can hear about my supernatural healing there. But I did all the things that God said, except that around day 20, one of the things God told me to do was to fast. And around day 20, I forgot and I broke my fast 2 hours early. And I remember feeling this terror, like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be healed now because I broke my fast, and I rebuked that in the name of Jesus. But I began praying and I heard God say, Rachel, your healing was never contingent upon your willpower. You will never have enough willpower to get the blessings that I have for you. Your faith was your healing was contingent upon your faith and belief in me that I would do what I said I would do. I asked you to do these things as a demonstration of faith, just a demonstration, but you will be healed based on your belief in my ability to heal you. And sure enough, on day 24, I got a call from the doctor. She had all the results, and I was 100%, and I am to this day, and I will be for the rest of my life 100% cancer-free.
Wow. And here's the thing, people are all have their own battles going on that we don't necessarily see. Yours is very visual because of some of your treatments.
Yeah.
You don't have you've lost your hair. Was it, I mean, obviously I know a little more of the story, but for the people who don't know, was it were you apprehensive about showing up without hair? I mean, I know you shaved your head on video and all that stuff. I mean, were you apprehensive or not at all?
Okay, so first of all, I chose to heal with integrative naturopathic. So I did not do conventional chemotherapy or radiation. So I did not expect to lose my hair. When I started losing my hair, I'm talking about in massive chunks, Tiffany. It was devastating for me. And I remember having these mixed emotions because I teach confidence, but a lot of my confidence came from my appearance. I didn't realize that. I mean, I knew I had like internal confidence, but I did not realize how much my hair meant to me, my pink hair, until I started losing it. And I had so many come to Jesus moments because what I heard God say to me is, you will be confident no matter what. You have to learn how to be confident in who you are, your soul, with your skin, however you show up. You have to learn how to be confident. You can't let your hair dictate your level of confidence. You can't let whether or not you have lashes on today dictate if you feel confident or not. You have to love yourself at such a level that no matter what you look like, you feel confident. And that was really hard, Tiffany. But I'm so grateful because now I'm bald and I love it. I love that I don't have to do I love that I don't have to do my hair every day. I don't love that it's coming in like patchy. I wish it would come in a little more even, but I know that this is just a season. It was not hard to shave my head live because I used it as a fundraiser. Because I am doing alternative treatment, I don't have any kind of medical insurance. And the first time I went to the alternative hospital, it was $35,000, somewhere, yeah, like $35,000 cash up front. No credit cards, no, like, I literally had to go and get a cashier's check.
Wow.
And let me tell you, when you see your bank account, just your whole savings go for cancer treatment, oh man, it sucks. But anyway, so I used it as a fundraiser for myself and my girlfriend Shelly, who's also was diagnosed with triple negative breast cancer. We have to go back for another round of boosters to make sure that we stay cancer free. And so we raised $10,000 in a weekend because people were about the cause. I cried on that video. I didn't cry because I was losing my hair. I cried because I knew that I was being called to step into a whole other level of being. And I cried because I knew that there were people who were watching who did not have the same faith that I had, and my heart was breaking for them. Because I always knew, like when I got diagnosed, I knew that I was not going to die from breast cancer or breast cancer complications or any kind of cancer related anything. I knew that. I had this deep faith. And it broke my heart to hear people tell me how scared they were for me. So I cried for them. And I cried because I hoped that as they watched me, their own faith would be increased. As they saw me doing the things that scared me, that made me question everything that I stood for, I hoped that it would inspire them to allow themselves to go down the scary journey.
Imagine, you guys, if Rachel did not do all the work that she's done her entire life to, you know, to rewrite those stories based in fact, from her childhood, and didn't continue to do all of her journaling and her faith work. And she didn't do all that, and therefore wasn't able to show up and show all the people all of this in her current journey. She had to do all of that work to be able to show up how she is now. And I'm sure that's in part also why you are so adamant and passionate about showing other people how to step into that confidence of their own. It's actually selfish to not show up and be you and show it all.
I say that all the time. It's selfish of you. It would have been so selfish of me to go on this journey in private. And let me tell you, I get this question all the time, like, how much is too much to share? When do you know you're ready to share? I did not, when I first found the lump, I talked about it. And I said, I'm scared. I found a lump. I'm sure it's nothing, but it's still scary. I did not share my results or my diagnosis until I did the work. Because like Tiffany said, if I hadn't done the work, there's no way. And when I got diagnosed, I had to do another layer of work. I had to process my own emotions, my own feelings, and I had to be ready to hear everyone else's opinions about what was happening to me. So I encourage you to do the work and get to the place where you get to show up and tell your side of the story, and you don't care what people have to say. Because, I get a lot of ignorant comments. I get a lot of people wanting to tell me of all the people that they've known in their life who have died of breast cancer. I don't know why you think I want to hear about so-and-so that you loved who died of breast cancer. Where is that speaking life into me? It's not,
it's nowhere.
Not at all. But it doesn't bother me the way that it might have, because I understand that they're just looking for connective tissue. But in the beginning, when I first got diagnosed, I did not want to hear anyone tell me anything about bad scenarios. And when people would come to me, I didn't even tell a few of my brothers and sisters because I didn't want to hear what they had to say about what was happening to me. So you got to get to this point where you don't care what they say. You don't. Now people say, I was at an event and God bless this poor girl. She came to me and she was like, I just found out tonight that my cousin is losing her battle with breast cancer and I don't know what to do. And I don't know how I'm supposed to stay at this event. And I'm so heartbroken. And she was like, and you were the only person I could think to talk to who would understand. Why would I understand?
Right.
I'm not dying of, but you know what I mean? Like, I was able to comfort her and be there for her because I'm so okay with where I am at, that what people say to me and what they're experiencing does not penetrate the faith that I have built, the confidence that I have built. Sometimes it might shake the foundation, but it will not cause me to fall. And that's where you need to get.
And you guys, that's a beautiful answer and example to how much is too much to share. How do I know if I'm ready? You have to be willing to hear all sorts of crazy things come at you and it bounce off you to not take you in. Not like you're made of Teflon, but just you are so strong in your core that you're not constantly being rattled and blown around by other people's stuff. And if you're not there yet, Rachel, would you say if people desire more help in this area and they're ready and they're willing, they just don't know how to get there, would you say your event, Confidence Activated, June 5th through 7th, 2020, would be a good place for them to go?
It would be the greatest place for you to go. And let me tell you why. Because I am insanely, obsessively committed to bringing transformation to people. And one thing that really irks me is when I go to a live event and it's all like motivational and you can do it. but there is no actual transformational work happening. So you leave feeling inspired and you leave feeling motivated, but you don't leave feeling changed. And I am on a mission to stop that. So when you come to Confidence Activated, I actually guarantee, I have a money back guarantee that you are going to get breakthrough and transformation. And if you don't have at least one breakthrough before lunch on the first day, you can see anyone from my team and get a full refund, no questions asked. Because I am in the business of transformation. And if I motivate you along the way, awesome. If I inspire you, fantastic. But if I help you transform, then everybody's life is better.
I love that. Where can people get tickets to Confidence Activated?
Yes, go get your ticket right now by visiting confidenceactivated.com. Confidence, with the CE at the end, activated.com.
You guys, if you loved this episode talking about confidence in a real way, hearing Rachel's story, hearing, some of my story, most of you know a lot of it, but like if Rachel and I have done the work from the trauma we've had, from the stuff that's happened in life, and we're able to show up, I know that you guys can. You just might need some guidance in getting there. Take a screenshot right now and tag Rachel at Girl Confident and me at ProjectME with Tiffany. Share it on social media. If you're driving or you forget to put at Girl Confident, I will make sure I tag her and share all of it in my stories. Share this episode with a friend who you know needs a little, dose of confidence in her life. She's doubting herself. And I know you probably have more than one friend, but like pass that gift on. These episodes are also meant to be messages that people need to hear. And if you feel called or a name pops in your head of someone who you're like, okay, they need to hear Rachel's story, you damn well better send it because you're being called to.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I would love to see you at Confidence Activated. I know that it will be incredibly transforming. And I'm just so grateful to you, Tiffany, for letting me share a little bit about my story, but also about the tips, right? Like I gave you clear action steps. It requires work. And so I encourage you to grab your journal, re-listen to this episode, and go back and discover what are the stories that you've been telling yourself and what are the facts about the situation. That alone will give you a powerful breakthrough.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on, speaking wisdom to my beautiful posse, myself, and just for being someone who walks the walk, talks the talk. It's something that's rare, especially in this personal development online space. And I am honored to know you, girl.
Thank you. I love you.
Love you too. Bye, hon.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please write a 5-star review on iTunes. Not only will this make me super happy, but it will allow more listeners to find our special show. Simply help me help others.